Fairy Tale is my life because I'm also the lead writer for that show. Josh is another one of my writers here. So I always dare people at conventions. I'm like, bring me your fairy tale questions. I will answer them. But Mira Jane is fantastic because how often do you get to play one character that has so many different sides? You know, she's really sweet, and then she does the whole she-devil thing, and then you find out she's got 3 other different forms, and she's a snotty teenager, so she's awesome. What about you?
I got into Fairy Tale more recently with Wendy, but it was really fun. I like playing. She's very cute and sweet. And I like how farther on in the series she gets a little bit more dynamic of character. It's almost like every time she comes on, there's a little bit more to her. And it's really neat to be able to grow with a character like that. And then I also just like saying Sky Dragon Roar because I have fun doing that, and I always get to do it. Yeah, she just says I'm sorry all the time. Tyler, the director, will be like, okay, so just you're going to say you're sorry and keep crying. I'm like, okay. But as she goes on, she gets a little bit thicker of a skin, and it's kind of neat to watch her grow, and you know, and her so to say sidekick, but really just the other character, Carla. They actually kind of start switching places. Carla becomes a little bit more compassionate. She becomes a little bit tougher, and it's really neat to watch. And you know those episodes that I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but with the bodysuits are kind of awesome.
I have a little bit of a love-hate relationship with my character because she's one of those that doesn't really have a whole lot of self-worth and likes to worship a guy, and that's not really my style. And so I do like that now that we're getting later on in the episodes that she kind of becomes a little bit more powerful. And I mean, she's always been powerful, but I like her kind of coming into her own a lot more, and I hope that continues to happen.
Boobalicious. It was fun. It was fun. I don't know that I was necessarily the first choice for the role, but it turns out that he had to sing a song, and so I got it.
Thank God we got Jerry instead of someone else, because I music directed that show, and as soon as I found out that Jerry was the one that was cast as the one that had to sing, I was like, oh, thank God.
It was
Jerry's
great, though.
singer.
I enjoyed it. I liked the characters in it, and I enjoyed playing the awkward boy yet again. There are no small parts. It's about, it lasts a shorter period of time. That's really it. There's no difference. You go in, and however long it takes you to do what you do, you give it your all, and you leave it all in the booth, right?
Yeah, with shorter characters, it is, sometimes it's hard to get your bearings, like you kind of feel like you're just sort of like throwing words out and hoping that it all works out. Whereas when you're doing a longer character, you have a lot more time to really get to know them and kind of know their ins and outs and really kind of develop a relationship with them. So I think we all have more of a, emotional connection with our lead characters than we do our shorter-lived ones.
But you gotta be able to do both.
I think that the short ones are fun because then you can get away with the really broad characterizations and like the accents and the crazy things they never let you do. So sometimes if you have a character that's only around for an episode, they can be ridiculous and over the top, and they're okay with that. Whereas if we did a main character like ridiculous and over the top, unless that's what the character called for, you guys would hate us.
Alana?
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Elena!
Happy birthday! Happy birthday! I think we're going to have opposite answers. It depends on your voice type. For me, playing a boy is a lot easier on my voice than playing a super high-pitched girl character. And
for me, it's the opposite. It's really easy to play a high-pitched girl character because, hello. So boys are a little harder. In fact, I don't often play boys because they always end up sounding like little girls.
And most of my boys sound like cartoony boys, not really realistic boys, so it's a lot more challenging for me to do a boy than a
Blackstar was
girl.
pretty legit.
What?
Blackstar was pretty legit.
Yeah, but I guess what I'm saying is the voice effect that I kind of do to create that sound, like to make it gravelly and to, it's just a lot more difficult on the voice and harder to produce, I guess. Yeah. It's really easy to just like pitch your voice up and talk higher, but it's a lot harder to.
Yeah, when you do the boys where you add the gravelly, like rough quality, that hurts a lot. I don't do those boys anymore.
I learned my lesson.
That's all you, baby.
Well, yeah, I think that it's one of those things that you have to play to your own strengths of what you're born with. Like, you know, if you're born a soprano, you're a soprano forever. You can get into the lower range, into the lower register, but it's, you know, I mean, I don't know. I guess, I don't know.
I think that's right. I mean, like for me, my register is naturally higher. So if I'm auditioning for video games, a lot of video game characters, they want lower register women that like are sultry and whatever, and I can like barely do that. People are like, "Oh, you're trying your best, aren't you, buddy?" But if I can think of the character in a different way and potentially make something unique and not necessarily just play to like, this is what I've heard before and this is what I think they want, but like, what can I do with this character? Then I have a better shot. But, yeah, I would agree that you just kind of have to know. You're not gonna there's certain things I'm never gonna be like a big like gnarly monster in a video game because I sound like this. So you just can't do it. So you just have to know what your limits are, but to like learn how to work within your limits really well, pretty much. I'll elaborate. Sorry, that's okay. So my brother, who is he's a writer at Gearbox now, but at the time was going to college, and all of our friends had left, and I was about to go to college, and we were all sad, and he was like, maybe I should do something instead of just being sad. Do you want to make silly, video game videos? And I was like, oh, okay, sure. So our first one that we were going to do was the BioShock one, but then we ended up doing Ikaruga first for whatever reason. And he was a reviewer for Destructoid at the time, so we had an audience. We got kind of lucky, pretty much, but we started to do it because we were sad. Yeah.
You know what I'm going to say. My favorite part about playing Saki was at the time I hadn't gotten to play anything other than kind of these weird, obscure characters that didn't know where they were going or where they'd come from. And she was the first one that was really enthusiastic and bubbly and fun. She was also a lesbian, which I was very excited about. I just wanted to play a lesbian. I thought that'd be fun. So yeah, and I love that show. I love the dynamic between the characters and everything. I'm so glad that you mentioned that show. I haven't heard that one in a while. That's a good one. But yeah, I absolutely loved her enthusiasm and getting to play that bubbly character. If I had known that that was going to be the rest of my career at that time, I probably would have been a little more into it. I would have taken notes if I had known then. But yeah, I enjoyed it immensely. Steel Angel Kurumi was still pretty new in my career, so I think for all of us, the hardest thing is getting familiar with acting without other actors. It's really hard when you come from, I come from a stage background, and all of a sudden I was having to act, and sometimes the other actor would be there, and sometimes they're not. So that was really difficult for me back then. You get used to it after a while, and I don't know about you guys, but I go home and talk to walls. I talk to cats. Doesn't matter. But at the time, it was very jarring. So that was the hardest thing I would say about Steel Angel is learning about that whole curve. Thank you, Doctor.
He didn't, actually. We just happen to look really similar. We're friends now, actually. He's a great guy. But yeah, I got a lot of people that I don't think he actually modeled it after me. I think I have one of those faces where any time anyone meets me, they're like, you look just like who? And then they just know 5 people that look like me. I just have that kind of face. So, especially if it's a cartoon character, people are like, you look just like this person, this person, this person, this person, this person. So I think that's just what happened. I don't think he modeled it after me. But he's a good guy. We're friends.
Luckily, no, because that would be really hard. Because Flying Mint Bunny is way up here.
And Belarus is way down here.
So yeah, that would be really, really hard. No, it's not. Flying Mint Bunny is surprisingly easy. I don't know what it says about me as a woman in her late 30s. But Belarus was a little more difficult because I didn't actually audition for that role. They chose me for it and thankfully called me ahead of time and said learn that accent because otherwise I would have been screwed. I didn't even know where it was on a map. That's just how dumb I was. Now I do. So yeah, that was a different one. But yeah, we never did them back and forth. We would do all of one and all of the other. But I think Flying Mint Bunny only had a few lines in the beginning, really. He just pops up every once in a while. I'm waiting for the Belarus and Russia show, though. Oh, no, but now I have this desire to go up to your door at Funimation and
right, scratch at it. But I wouldn't be scared though, and just be like, "Oh, hey, Monica, come on in." No, that would be great. I would love to see a Belarus and Russia. Well, we had the one.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
But that would be awesome just to make the whole series about them. Forget all the other countries.
Not so much with him. I guess that's kind of the register of voice is one that I've done a lot, especially with Chopper. And luckily, Chibitalia is usually just really cute, whereas Chopper just screams all the time. So in comparison to Chopper, Chibitalia is super easy.
Wow, that's a loaded question. Psychopaths itself was just, I liked the concept as being kind of like an anime CSI. Was really cool to be a part of. I also, the world itself and the concept of the psychopaths was something that was really cool to me at the time, just because of some different philosophies and stuff I was looking up at the time. And it was just the idea of this living in this totalitarian society where you're basically under the scrutiny of the thought police 24/7 was just really kind of dark, and everybody's cool with it. Everybody's totally fine with being completely like, the police always know what you're thinking and how you're feeling, and if you just go a little outside the line of what they deem to be safe, then your life is over. Was really kind of was an interesting role to play in. Ginaza himself, I had a little bit of a problem with him at the start of the series, just because he kept his emotions so in check all the time, just because of, and I can't say why because it'd be a spoiler, but I don't get that's not the type of characters that I play very often. So it was a bit of a challenge, and also it was a challenge because that was one of the shows where when we got the materials, we didn't have any music or sound effects. So it was just acting in a vacuum, and it was very uncomfortable at first, but I loved his arc. Ginaza had a really fun arc, especially how he improves his relationship with a certain character, and then how stuff that happens to that character pushes him over the deep end. It was a very heartbreaking, and it's that moment where he finally lets go of his control over his emotions and who he is, and is the start of his fall, basically. But yeah, he was a lot of fun. I really hope that they hurry up and do it. It would be really cool to continue with it. Do you know if they're supposed to? I haven't read much on the second season. Do you know if they're supposed to be like? Is it supposed to be a continuation, or are they starting over with a different cast?
30% nepotism. My brother wrote the game. And as he was writing Tiny Tina, he was kind of like, I feel like I'm just sort of writing this character for Ash. So he asked if I could audition for it. And so I sent in an audition, and they did a blind picking process because he was worried about the nepotism thing because he'd just gotten hired. So he felt like, cool, I'll write your game. Also, I'll just put my entire family in it. How about that? So he wrote it, and I auditioned, and then they threw me in the pot, and he didn't tell anyone who was who, and they liked my audition, so I became Tiny Tina. I love her as a character. She's super fun to play. She's the character of all the characters that I play, that I get to just do kind of whatever I want with her. Anthony in particular, and some of the other Borderlands 2 actors that are on the panel could speak to this too, just loves it when actors ad-lib and just do weird shit. He thinks it's great. And so he's really open to you just making up whatever nonsense you want. I don't know who else. Brina's Moxie. Is anyone else from Borderlands 2 on the panel? I know Josh.
I'm the Morningstar rifle.
Monica's the Morningstar rifle. Yeah.
The one that gives you a really hard time for sucking.
I play Dave and Mr. Bony Pants Guy and a couple of other dudes that haven't been released yet.
Yeah. So anyway, yes. I love Tiny Tina.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was completely honored to be a part of that show. I had like a couple of leads up until then, but that was the first show that I got that was like a huge, massive deal. And I mean, that was the most complicated auditioning process that we'd ever done at Funimation. Usually you audition once and you get the part or you don't. This one, I had to do like 3 different auditions, and then they had to, because there were so many approval processes and everything with the Japanese company, and yeah, it was really intense, and I was shocked and delighted whenever I got the role. And I think he's such a fun, diverse character. I mean, that's what's so fun about One Piece is that the show grows with its viewers. It becomes more and more, gets more and more depth and gets more and more emotional the further you get along in the story. But it still maintains its fun quality, but at the same time, it doesn't shy away from getting really emotional, which I really like.
Wow.
I loved it. I had a great time.
You didn't have to play the big-headed lady.
Hey, big-headed lady was fun, though. You didn't like big-headed lady?
I played Komodo, number 8, and I loved her, but it was really hard to do everything very seriously because she literally looked like the Pillsbury Doughman.
Yeah.
Like with a giant head.
Yeah,
but
she really
everything
did.
had to be played really seriously.
And isn't she always in this position?
Yes.
Like, she never stops standing like this.
So it's really hard to take it seriously. But I'm sure you guys had a blast.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. It's like getting to hear Brina be, super creepy stalker for a while was fun.
Yeah, that was awesome. I said earlier about how I don't really like playing women or girls who are just their whole purpose in life is to be obsessed with one boy. This is my one exception because they show her entire backstory and you understand where she's coming from and how she was so horribly abused and that this is like her only respite from that world. So to me, it justified it a little bit more and it came from a more real, honest place. So I love that character because of that level of depth.
Yeah. Yuki was, I don't know. Yuki doesn't really seem like, even by the end of it, that he doesn't really change. Like he doesn't really have an arc or anything that he learns. He stays the same character at the end that he was at the beginning, and it's just whether or not he's worse off than he was in the beginning or better off is the question, and that's kind of just left up to personal interpretation at this point. So, yeah. It was a fun show, though.
Yes. Just a moment. Sometimes I have to say one line to get. I'll just do it.
Mushy Snuggle Bus is my main squeeze. What's up, shorty? How you doing? You're welcome. See you later.
No, that's just really a funny way to phrase that. It's totally a legitimate question. A mixture, hopefully. We got super lucky with Hey Ash. It was like right place, right time. And enough people liked it that I kind of just started getting, offers for things. And Tiny Tina was kind of it was a really, really good jumping off point for a voiceover career. But I do work. It is work.
Well, you have your degree and stuff, right?
Yeah, I went to college and everything, so pretty cool. I don't know if you know. I will admit I don't watch a whole lot of anime, but there is an anime that I really like called Nichijou. It's like My Ordinary Life or something. It's like a slice of life anime. I don't know if they're doing a dub for it or whatever, but and Sailor Moon's coming out. I loved Sailor Moon when I was a kid. I would love to be in Sailor Moon. That's my answer.
It's kind of a case-by-case basis. And in general, at Funimation, you always go to Funimation. There are some exceptions. Sometimes when we have actors who live in LA who can't make it out in time for the deadline, we'll rent out a studio in Los Angeles, and one of the directors will fly out, possibly, or they'll do it through Skype or something, especially if it's just like a pickup. But yeah, usually you have to go to the studio for Funimation anyway. It's not usually remotely. Remotely is usually done for commercial voiceover, not so much with anime and video games, since that's so story driven. You kind of have to have a director to let you know what the heck is even going on, because you don't really know.
Sometimes with the prelay animation too, like when you do the voices before it's animated, which is the opposite of anime, as you guys know, then sometimes you'll do, like I've done call-ins for some of the more Western stuff, where you'll be on what's called a patch, which sounds awesome, except for they're like 2 seconds behind. So you say a line and you wait thinking, oh my God, that totally sucked. And then they're like, ha 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 ha, okay, good. So it does happen on occasion, but yeah, like Brina said, unless it's outsourced, Funimation outsources sometimes to Okratron, but that's still not that far away.
Right. And sometimes, like working at Okratron, sometimes they'll get contracts for some independent game companies that are, out of state or in a completely different country, and we'll do, over the phone with the people giving us their feedback, and the writer will be on the line, and we'll do it that way. But for the most part, you're usually just at the studio, or you have to travel to another state.
I don't think I had a choice. There's not a whole lot you can do with this voice. I'm just now started doing commercial work, which is great,
Because I do have this voice. I just don't use it in real life because it hurts.
But yeah, I think eventually I would have found my way to animation, cartoons, video games.
Animation had always been my big passion. Even, just from, I think my first words in this world were DuckTales, woohoo. So like it's always been animation has always been a big part of my life, and my mother got me involved in acting very early on, and so it just kind of became I think this is something I want to, when I learned that, when I finally understood that the characters on screen were voiced by actors, like real people, I was done then. I was like, okay, I want to do that. And so I just kind of set out for it.
For me, it was primarily opportunity. I had been acting, and one of the guys that I knew said, hey, we need some actors to audition up at this place called Funimation. You should come try it. And I did, and I got a part. And then I kept auditioning, and I still audition to this day.
I started out doing musical theater. Actually started out singing and doing like choir, and then got into musical theater, and then just one day someone from 80 Vision asked me to come in and
They came and saw our production of Rocky Horror.
Yeah,
It
they
was
came
Matt
in and saw us in
Greenfield.
Rocky Horror. We were awesome.
And they were like,
No, I'm just
Matt Greenfield was like,
Who is that Brittany girl? Get me her number.
all right.
That's a good man impression.
yeah, and they just asked me to come in, and he when I went into the studio, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had no idea why I was there, and he was like, I was 18. I had to be 18 to do this version of Rocky Horror. It was really bad. He asked me to come in, and he said, scream like you're getting stabbed to death. And apparently I'm good at that. And that's what happened. It started from there.
I also actually have a similar story to Josh in that I didn't realize that real people voiced characters, and then I was playing. Yeah, I was just like, oh, clearly Chucky just exists. I don't know, like in Rugrats, not the horrifying doll. Oh God. And actually played Metal Gear Solid. I don't know if anyone played that game ever before. And they put up the subtitles. They put up like Solid Snake, David Hayter, and I was like, who the fuck's David Hayter? And then I realized, oh man, that's the actor. And then after that, I was like, I want to do that. Also, sad and boredom, but yeah, that mostly.
Geez, that got really loud all of a sudden. I was definitely a huge fan of cartoons in general, and then whenever I was a teen, like 12, 13, I started getting into anime and was really, really into it, and then was really into Dragon Ball Z, and I happened to live in Texas, so we took a tour of Funimation Studios, and I remember watching Christopher Sabat recording Piccolo when I was like 16, and I was like, I could do that. I mean, not be Piccolo, but I'm Piccolo, me. So I did that behind a mic, and they were like, you're hired. Just kidding. Whenever I graduated high school, I ended up going to a community college that was only like a mile or two away, and then me and a bunch of my nerdy friends just walked in and asked how to audition, which you can't do now, by the way, because if you walk into Funimation without some sort of appointment, you will get kicked out by security. But at the time, I could get in, and I managed to get on the waiting list and auditioned, and the rest is history. I also acted before, by the way. I didn't just like walk in. I did a lot of musical theater, and I did plays and all that stuff. I think for me, physically, the biggest challenge was Priscilla and Claymore, because I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with that show, but at some point she kind of monsters out or whatever, and it was really, really painful, and I will never do a role like that again, but it was really fun at the time.
I would say Kirika Yumura in Noir, only because she didn't say a whole lot, but she had to convey a lot of emotion through uh-huh. So, like, if you were running from the cops, you'd be uh-huh, or if you were sad, uh-huh. I mean, like, everything was through, like, this little 2-syllable. It was really hard.
I think any character that yells a lot is hard, just in general. Barry the Chopper was hard. I think that's the only one I ever lost my voice on.
Kurinosuke was a bit of a challenge. It was really fun, but getting to the level of duality of the character, going from just being a dude to being fabulous, had to really get into a lot of different physicalities just to make the character come out, and to keep sticking with the character was also one of the bigger challenges, and making sure that I didn't drift too far. But Bevins is really good at making sure that you don't drift. So.
I would say that Black Star was extremely painful. And because it was the first time that I had ever done it. It was just the first time I ever did a boy character in general or anything like that. And so usually I'll drive up to Funimation, which is like about 5.5 hours from my house, and then I will work all day, and then I'll drive home. And I tried to do that with this character, and about like an hour and a half in, it just sounded like air, and it tasted like blood. And so I realized that is a really difficult character to do. I made it through. I could do like a girl character for the rest of the hours, but I had to do only a couple hours of Black Star at a time. But then also on the other end of that spectrum, like a character like Icarus from Heaven's Lost Property is also really difficult because doesn't have any emotion, and I tend to speak colorfully, I guess. Colorfully, is that, am I just, that's probably not even English. But yeah, that.
Playing Sasha is great because the rest of the show is so sad and serious and dark that it's really fun to be the character that gets to come in and say something funny and kind of lighten the mood and make things not feel so dire and awful. The show is really cool. It's honestly, it's hard for me to watch because it's so dark. Like the first episode is like, I watched them and I was like, I need to take a break. I need to go on a walk. Like it was just super intense. But yeah, Sasha's super, super fun, and our values are very similar in that we just always want to eat stuff. So.
I was so excited. For those of you that don't know, I play Michiko.
I play Michiko and Hachin. I have to talk like that.
And I was so excited because a lot of people don't know this. I am half Hispanic. My dad is from Spain, and so I got to tap on that whole vibe, which you don't get a lot in anime. I think in School Rumble, I got to play Lara Gonzalez, and that was the closest I got, which was also great. But Michiko is so sassy and fun, and she reminded me of all the girls that I went to high school with in Houston. Like, I was never cool enough to be those girls, but I wanted to be with them so bad. But they're like, no, Blanquita, you can't be with us. So I was like, this is my chance. Really? So Michiko was my chance to really get in touch with that, be that girl that I never got to be. And also my dad was going through a really hard time when that show was going on, and I'm really close to my dad, and he's the Spanish half. So that's a really special show to me. And I think that the message that it gives is phenomenal, and I love her. I think she's fantastic. And I think Jade Saxton as Hachin was just phenomenal. So I love that show. That's a good one. If you guys haven't seen Michiko and Hachin, please watch it. It's awesome.
You were so awesome in that show. I didn't even know it was you. And I've known her since I was 15, and I did not know that was her.
Douglas, who got me into anime, didn't know it was me, and I was like, yes. No, that was fun. No, but my favorite part was probably yelling at Vic. Making fun of Tamaki was a lot of fun, and I love that she would just pop up out of nowhere and be ridiculous. You know, like they're trying to take things too seriously, and Renge would get on that turntable and just out of the ground, and then like school them all and leave, which I thought was fabulous. But I also did the scripts for that show, and I really enjoyed writing for the twins, because I thought it was fun. Like, I wanted to get as creepy as I could for Greg and Todd without them actually like getting totally creeped out, but seeing like pushing that envelope to see how far I could go before they both went, nope, not doing it. So just a great show. I love that one.
Well, if the show is available to watch, usually, and if you have the time, like for any show with Funimation, usually they'll put the simulcast up, or they'll put the episodes up to watch on their website before we ever even get to writing or dubbing it. So yeah, the material is at least there to be able to research if you have the time.
In cases like that show in particular, you have to remember that the Japanese don't have anything to represent accents. They're going to speak in Japanese. So in that sense, you just kind of leave it alone. If you have that accent in your arsenal, You just go in, use your accent, and let the director guide you where you need to go.
I don't think I've played any that I love all of my characters, and I think if any of us hated a character, it'd probably show in the performance. You know, like you kind of have to find what you love about that character. I will say though that I do tend to play because of my voice. I play a lot of the characters that you guys are supposed to be annoyed with. So when people come up and they go, "God, that character was so annoying," I'm like, "Good, I did my job." But I love them. Do you guys have any?
I know for my character in Moonphase, who's
So
Kaoru, you know, I didn't like her at all until I started directing the show. And once I saw her in context of the show, I was like, oh, that's her purpose. Like, that's what she does. Okay. Because before, when I was just voice acting, I was like, oh my God, why are you always crying? Stop crying. But yeah, once I saw her in context, I was like, oh, she's sweet and so sad. Aww. So it was helpful. That was the first show I ever directed on, and it was kind of a good lesson of, you know, there are characters that can be annoying, but that's their purpose. That's what they have to do. Yuki has to be a total pansy.
Yeah.
That have merchandise of?
Oh, related to the character. I know Tiny Tina has a T after her.
Okay.
Oh,
like-
from that other con?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For context, there I was at another con with a bunch of other Borderlands 2 voice actors, and we had a tea party panel, and a local tea shop like made a Tiny Tina like mix of blend
That's
of
really
tea.
cute.
Yeah, it was really cool. So I guess does anyone have tea named after one of their characters or anything else like that?
I actually had, and this is awesome because I love chocolate, I had a chocolatier at, I think it was ASEN, create a chocolate based off of Holo in Spice and Wolf, and it was like apple infused and had black pepper.
That
It
is
was
rad.
delicious and beautiful, and it was based off my character. I think that's by far the coolest gift I've ever gotten.
No. I'm sorry. I'm trying to. That scream is really hard to do, for one, and two, this is the first day of the con, and I'm going to be talking to a lot of people, so I'd rather not do anything.
Catch him on the last day.
Yeah,
of the
last
con.
day. If I'm feeling okay, maybe I'll do it then.
Here's my impression of the scream.
Awesome. Brina Palencia, ladies and
Josh?
gentlemen, thank you very much.
Whoa. Can you throw your voice? So, yeah, so for those of you that don't know, if you're Team Fortress 2 fans, a short came out recently called Expiration Date, and I play Miss Pauling in Expiration Date. Thank you, one person. And, yeah, so Hey Ash, actually, my web series, Hey Ash, What You Playing, they saw it and reached out to me because they were looking for a voice actor for Miss Pauling. And I met with them at GDC in San Francisco and auditioned and got the part. And then they asked me to help them with writing on that short, specifically as it concerned Miss Pauling. So I did some like touch-ups, not touch-ups, I don't forget the word for writing. Edits. Hey, first day of the con. Woo. Edits to make her a cool character. Although she was already cool, but we helped make her cooler. Oh, specifically anime or just anything that we've done? I guess we should do other things because we said all the anime ones, I suppose. Maybe? Oh, yeah. But Brina's nervous. Maybe Monica, do you want to start?
I play Hell in Smite. I'm Ms. Splosion Man in Ms. Splosion Man. I'm the Morningstar Rifle in Borderlands 2 and Miss Tedior. Trying to think of other video game stuff. I know there's more, but the problem with video game stuff is a lot of times when we go record, it's called something like cream of wheat because they don't want anybody to know what it really is, and so then we don't normally know we're in it until like Tribes Ascend. I didn't know I was in Tribes Ascend, and my brother was playing it, and he goes, "Do your English accent," and I was like this, and he goes, "Lower, like this." He goes, "Oh my gosh, that's you!" And I had no idea I was in that show because it was called something different when we recorded it. So sometimes we know, sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
What about you?
Oh, is this for everybody? Yeah. Okay. Just roles in
Well,
games?
since we said
Or I guess
roles that are
anime.
non-anime roles.
Non-anime. Okay. Well, yeah, that would be video games. Dave in Borderlands 2, also Mr. Bony Pants guy, and a couple of other characters that I can't talk about yet. I was in Orcs Must Die. I was in the Dragon Ball Z Ultimate Tenkaichi as a custom character voice that you can pick. Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8, and the Legends I play Sumashir. And really excited I can finally talk about this. For Tales of Xillia 2, I'm playing Luger Kresnik.
I've only done a couple video games, I think, and I think both of them were Funimation. Well, no, there was Eon Flux I was in, and the other one I was in the One Piece game as Kaku, but didn't play Kaku in the series, which was odd, I thought, but it's true, and it's there. And Jin the Windmaster in the Yu Yu Hakusho game. That's it.
I also haven't done a lot of video games. I do a lot of like commercial and industrial work besides this, and then movies. Most of the movies are just small indie films, but a couple of them are a little bigger. Not really bigger, but I guess just you know what I'm. Yeah. But on Netflix you can see Puncture with Chris Evans in it, and I play Susie. And also, just recently, The Starving Games got put on Netflix. And I don't have a name because I die like in 5 minutes. But I'm Girl with Backpack. Yeah. Yeah, that's what's up.
It is pretty funny, though. I've seen it. It's pretty funny.
I play Tiny Tina in Borderlands 2. I'm also the Bane. I do that horrible, like, ha! For the Bane. I am a few characters in Guided to Fate Paradox. Miss Pauling in TF2, Isla in Awesome Knots. I was recently in an Adventure Time episode called Breezy, and I'm Breezy. I'm in Bee and Puppy Cat. I think they changed the character name, but it was Merlin. I can't talk about other stuff.
Muzzled the musical.
Oh, and I'm in Muzzled the musical.
Which just got their Kickstarter.
Yeah, stars Hercules and Drusilla. Kevin Sorbo and Juliet Lando from whatever. Yeah, and I'm in it. I sing in it. There we go. Brina, go for it.
Moxie in Borderlands, various sluts in Duke Nukem Forever. I'm in the Ghostbusters games, various things, Walking Dead games, Survival Instinct. I play like 3 different characters. I'm in the Walking Dead TV series. Episode 4, Season 4, I was the girl with the fruit. Also in Starcrossed on the CW, I play Sophia. I'm in, as far as movies, if you want to see some indie stuff, Chariot, which Eric Vale wrote, yes, the voice actor, and also Ghost of Goodnight Lane, starring Billy Zane and Lacey Chabert for Mean Girls. You can buy both of those at Walmart.
All right, Miami, why don't you give them a big round of applause?